Hi guys, I want to do a commentary video for Lorcana TCG. This will be my first commentary video for this channel, and I will be playing my favorite deck at the moment, which is Queen Elsa. The Queen Elsa deck isn't really just Queen and Elsa. In fact, Elsa is just two cards out of the deck. The main component is Queen though. Queen will be the most main component of this deck, and this deck is typically going to be playing the Steel package. The Steel package is the gray cards, and the gray cards are able to play removal really well so that I can play the early game and so that it'll buy me time so that I can play my late game cards. So here we have in Mulligan step. I don't know exactly what I mulligan, but for sure I think I choose the two Hans. I don't like having copies in my hand just because having copies in your hand means that I'm most likely going to charge them, and most likely I don't want to charge them. I want to be able to play them. So in this game, I want to be able to at least have one Hans played on turn 4, and the other two Hans will be back in the deck. So I'll definitely be choosing Simba, Hans, and Hans to put in the bottom deck. I'll also choose Captain Hook as well because Captain Hook doesn't have a cannon, Fire the Cannons in my hand. So because I don't have Fire the Cannons in my hand, I'm going to mulligan that card away as well. So most likely I'm just going to be keeping Maleficent, Friends on the other side, and one Hans, if I'm going to guess correctly. Yep. So I did do what I said I was going to keep, and then it looks like I draw and fire on the cannons, which is what I would prefer to have over having the Captain Hook. Okay, so I charge the Han here because I don't see me using it in the earlier turns of the game. So my opponent charges an Aladdin here. Knowing that he's playing in red, I'm mostly going to keep removal spells such as Fire the Cannon. I think they're called spells, but oh yeah, they're called actions, I'm sorry. So I keep the Fire the Cannon open just in case they play a red card. Most red cards are able to be dealt with. However, he is on green, and which I didn't know that. So I'm going to be charging, or I'm going to be placing gray cards into my Inkwell, just because I won't be able to deal with the ward very well. I did draw the wardrobe, so the wardrobe's going to trade favorably into Aladdin. And I believe Aladdin only quests for one. So if he does quest for Aladdin, I can trade pretty easily using the wardrobe. So he charges another Aladdin here. On turn 3, I'm not sure what he's going to do. He could play something with a good stat, but he looks like he's going to skip the turn here. I charge the Beast here because green and red are cards or are colors that don't use items very well in my experience. So I play the Maleficent down and then I pass my turn here. I do have the Captain Hook in my hand, so on the following turn, if he does play a wardless character, which he does, I'll be able to use both Cannon and the Captain Hook. So I want to use Friends on the other side to rest the wardrobe, most likely, because the wardrobe does have a higher health. And I draw into a queen smash. So I can place a queen into the inkwell, and I can play smash to deal with the Pongo. Pongo does have elusive, so I mean evasiveness, and so I can take out the evasive characters, and I pass here. So both my current characters on the board can check Aladdin if he does quest. So he charges another Aladdin into the inkwell, so now he's on turn 5. Most likely he's going to be able to play Mulan or Aladdin. He does play Aladdin here for 7 because he is able to shift. So if he does quest with Aladdin, his 5/5 stats are able to be contested using my 3 from the wardrobe and then the Fire the Cannon. Fire the Cannon will be able to deal with Aladdin. So if he does decide to quest here, then he's going to be losing. If he does decide to beat over my wardrobe, Aladdin does have this ability. If it does KO somebody, he can take 2 lures from me and also gain 2 lures, so that's good for him. Unfortunately for him, I'm able to remove Aladdin, so this will be a 2 for 2. Because he is losing the Aladdin that had the ward underneath him. I play the Maleficent here to draw a card first, and then I play the Fire the Cans to deal with him. Okay, now I'll be able to quest safely because now he doesn't have anything that he can play. Unless he's playing a rush character. If he is playing a rush character to deal with my Maleficent, that he isn't using that character for any sort of questing. Most rush characters that are played in red do not have the ability to quest. Some of them do, but if they do, they don't quest for that much. He places a Jasper into the Inkwell here, which tells me he's not going to use it. So I place the Captain Hook into my Inkwell, and now I can quest using both of Maleficents, putting 2 more, and then I can play my Queen down. By the time Queen comes down, he's gonna have to waste a Dragonfire to deal with the Queen, and if he doesn't have a Dragonfire here, the Queen's gonna gain a lot of advantage. He could use the Pongo here to deal with or to put 2 damage onto my Maleficent, therefore placing her into the graveyard. But he chooses to go for the quest here. I can charge, or I can place the wardrobe into the Inkwell, and then play my Elsa to lock down the Pongo. But I'm gonna go for I'm most likely gonna go for the Captain Hook line here, because the Captain Hook line here is better, because I want him to develop a second character before I use Elsa. So I could waste the double cannon here, but Pongo is not worth using 2 cannons on the one character. So I'm gonna wait for him to trade into the Maleficent first before anything happens. He plays a Rapunzel here, and I take 1 lore damage, and he's gonna quest using the Pongo. Now this will be the perfect time to play Elsa because I can lock down both of his units, and then now that he ignored my board, I'm gonna be able to play a lot, plus put a lot of lore onto. Yeah, I'm gonna gain a lot of lores if I quest. So I could use the Maleficent to trade into the Rapunzel, but I do have another turn to do that. Luckily, so if I do want to trade, when I do find it favorable, I could do it on my next turn because they're still going to be exerted. Okay, he draws return here. He's only at 6 Inkwell, so he can't play his big threats unless he plays with 1 card into the Inkwell. He can play Aladdin here, and then Aladdin will be able to be played for 7. He's going to waste another Dragonfire here to deal with Elsa, so that's going to pretty much solidify my decision to trade my board into his board, as they are still exerted. So I'm most likely the Maleficent's going to go onto the Rapunzel, taking out the 2 health, and then I'm going to use Fire the Cannon to deal with the Rapunzel. But first things first, I'm going to play the Maleficent here, and then I'm going to play the Hans. Oh, or I also have the option here to charge. Place the Hans into the Inkwell, and then play Tinkerbell to deal 1 damage to everybody. So this way I can trade pretty favorably. Okay, I trade the Captain Hook here. This way that I could quest with the 2 Maleficent, and then I can put 1 damage to everybody. So that Pongo is lethal, can be placed into the graveyard using the Fire. Okay, so my opponent draws here, and now he's at 6 Inkwell. He's going to play the Tigger. The Tigger is going to be able to use the evasive strategy. So luckily for me, I draw into another Elsa, my second copy of Elsa. So I'll be able to use Elsa here to pretty much exert both of his character, and they won't be able to restand on or ready themselves on the next ready phase. And again, he ignores my board here, so I'm able to go wide and quest for a lore, and now he's kind of on the clock. If he doesn't deal with my current board with Be Prepared, which is the Dark Hole board wipe, I guess it's called Wrath of Heaven, then he won't be able to win the game. Most likely he's going to be playing that card to wipe out the board. If he doesn't have it, then I win the game. He plays the Hans here, which is pretty much game here, because with Elsa, Tinkerbell, and double Maleficent, I'll be able to survive this one. He plays the LeFou here. The LeFou here is able to restand already one of his characters. He's going to restand the Tigger, but the Tigger is not going to be able to do much, because if he does trade into the Maleficent here, I still have enough lore that I can quest for a game. So I'm going to quest for a game, and that's lethal. Yeah, so that's the game for this matchup. This matchup is pretty easy for the Queen Elsa deck, just because I do have the Steel package. The Steel package is one of the best removal tools in the game, and being able to remove a lot of the cards, even with Ward, is really astounding. So we're gonna go into the next game here, and then we'll see if you guys like this deck even more. I'm gonna play into a control matchup as opposed to a mid-range aggro deck.